The 20 lava giants were as fast as lightning since their huge bodies somehow didn't drag down their speed. When they swung their fists, it felt like they left a series of afterimages in the air. The 40 fists cover all directions, and it felt like no one could dodge the strikes. Emperor Yet-Sin was instantly surrounded and couldn't move. This scene made the masters who were watching the battle on the mountain gasp. This emperor is only a peak full moon elite. Why is he so daring? If he interrupted Domenech from casting the spell or moved before the lava giants got close to him, he could last a while. But now, they thought, ha 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 ha, Yet-Sin, die. You are still as proud as always, but you are like an ant in my eyes now. I can kill you over 100 times with my finger. Ha ha. Domenech's loud laughter sounded. At this moment, the fists of the 20 lava giants had already collided from all sides, and a loud booming noise sounded. The terrifying energy created several shocking airwaves, and the sea of lava started to surge. Waves of lava sometimes got over 100 meters tall, and the masters on the mountain had to unleash their full strength not to get blown into the lava. Even if a Sunsealith's lord got struck by the 20 lava giants and didn't die, he or she would lose a layer of skin. Emperor Yet-Sin was probably dead by now. The masters were hugely disappointed, and Domenech's arrogant laughter resonated every louder in the world of burning flames. Really? I want to see how you can kill me over 100 times. At this moment, a voice that seemed to be forever calm sounded. Although it wasn't loud, it covered all the other sounds made in this small world. Domenech's crazy laughter instantly paused, and a shocked expression appeared on his face as if he saw a ghost. All the masters were also surprised, and they all looked up at the sky. As soon as that voice sounded, a golden light appeared at where Emperor Yet-Sin was standing, and beams of golden light penetrated through the lava giants as if they were Jodatir combat weapons. There was so much power that even the red sky inside the sun anomaly got turned into the color gold. Dragon Fist, Dragon's Maneuver. Emperor Yet-Sin's clear voice sounded in the next moment. The majestic roars of dragons echoed as if numerous holy golden dragons appeared. Then, this entire world started to shake as if there was an earthquake. This would happen before a sun anomaly was shattered. Soon, a dash of dragon-shaped golden light started to turn and circle where Emperor Yet-Sin was standing. Every time it circled Emperor Yet-Sin for one full rotation, a powerful dragon roar-like noise would sound. The 20 terrifying lava giants were like poorly made clay dolls in front of this dash of golden light. They were easily crushed, and the fire elemental powers inside of them were gone. Without the fire elements, these lava giants turned into huge pieces of black rocks before falling back into the sea of lava. This scene was shocking. The amount of energy contained in that dash of golden light was unimaginable, and nothing could stop it. As the dragon roar-like noise got louder and louder, the world of burning flames became a world of the golden dragon. Domenech finally reacted after a few seconds, but there was nothing that he could do to turn it around. The situation was flipped in just a dozen seconds. Emperor Yet-Sin was now standing in midair with a calm smile on his face. What just happened didn't even mess up a single strand of his hair, and he made people feel like he was invincible. Faye felt like his mouth was a little dry. This wasn't his first time seeing this legendary technique. When Marshal St. Krasik died on the Marshal St. Mountain and Huntler, Castacarda, and Amory tried to escape with griffins, Emperor Yet-Sin, who was inside the royal palace, used Dragon Fist and easily killed the griffins that were 3 kilometers away. Today, Faye saw it again. However, compared with last time, the power of Dragon Fist was terrifying, and its aesthetics was mesmerizing. Each of the 20 lava giants had the strength of a Sunsealith's lord, but they were all destroyed by Dragon Fist, Dragon's Maneuver. It looked so easy that it made people feel like the power of a Sunsealith's lord was limited. However, Faye was clear that any other peak full moon elite would be killed by the lava giants even if he or she had semi-GOD tier combat weapons. Faye had never seen such a powerful man before. He is a true master. He is a true emperor. Faye felt like he was inspired. On top of absolute power, The true masters had strong confidence and believed that they themselves were invincible. No! No! How did you do that? How can you beat my most powerful strike inside the world of burning flame, as a bug-like peak full moon elite? Even 100 peak full moon elite would be turned into dust. How did you do that? Domenech, who was floating in midair, shouted to express his emotions. It was clear that he was not willing to accept this result. You asked me the same question when I defeated you 26 years ago when I was a low-tier full moon elite and you were a peak full moon elite. I will answer you again today. Emperor Yadatas.Sin's voice suddenly turned majestic and dominating. I, Andrew Yadatas-Sin, is the greatest ruler of Zenith, but you are someone else, dog. Impossible. Anger and fear distorted Domenech's face, and he laughed like a lunatic. I'm the God and my son Anomaly. I can use the same strike over and over again and don't need to worry about running out of energy. You, on the other hand, would lose some warrior energy every time you use Dragon Fist. Ha ha ha. I want to see how many times a genius like you can use Dragon Fist when you couldn't use the elements in nature and nature laws. What Domenech said instantly reminded the other masters. What this white-robed mage said was correct. Inside the sun anomaly, the creator would never run out of energy. Since the small world would only recognize the creator, he or she would have an abundance of energy, whereas the enemies would slowly run out of energy. This was why sun anomalies were terrifying. If Emperor Yadatas.Sin couldn't defeat Domenech, he would gradually lose out even if Dragon Fist was extremely powerful. As Domenech started laughing, a series of chants resonated in the air. The fire elements began to rumble, and the sea of lava got violent again. In a brief moment, lava giants started to appear one after another. Soon, there were 40 lava giants, doubling the previous amount. Also, each of them was now 300 meters tall, more powerful than the previous lava giants. As soon as they formed, they dashed at Emperor Yadatas.Sin. Ha ha ha! There are an unlimited amount of lava giants, but if you fail once, you will die. Domenech said before he started to swing his wand and chant the spell with a gloating smile on his face. I gave you enough time to prepare your spell because I want you to use your most powerful strike. I want you to be crushed mentality. Now I will let you see what true power is. I will make you feel the desperation all over again. Emperor Yadatas.Sin's dominating voice sounded. You can only rely on this sun anomaly. I will destroy it and let you know that you will never defeat me. Doesn't matter how strong you get, you will always be a useless bug in my eyes. Dragon Fist, Dragon's Return. After Emperor Yadatas.Sin said that, he raised his right fist, and a brilliant golden energy flame shot out of it. The terrifying power and the dragon roar-like noise created by that golden energy flame made people feel like a legendary holy golden dragon traveled through space and time and appeared in this world to conquer everything. Break! As he roared, he punched at the sky above him. A golden light beam that was more than 10 meters thick charged into the sky from Emperor Yadatas.Sin's fist, and the world of burning flames started to shake violently. Cracking noises sounded as if a piece of GameLit were getting shattered, and white cracks appeared in the red sky. These white cracks were growing like vines, and it made people feel like the sky was going to fall apart. Even though the white cracks were as thin as a strand of hair, it moved everyone. It meant that this small world was breaking under Emperor Yadatas.Sin's Dragon Fist, Dragon's Return. This world continued to shake. Faye felt like he was inside a bullet train that was out of its tracks. This small world was shaking so violently that he felt like his joints were being dislocated. Do you want to break my world of burning flames? I won't allow you. Domenech was so scared that his face paled. If his son Anomaly got shattered, then he might even die. If he couldn't defeat Emperor Yadatas.Sin in his own son Anomaly where he was like a God, then he would be slaughtered in the outside world. A series of mystic spells were chanted, and surges of fire elements started to rush up into the air. The sea of lava boiled even more, and the red vapor also raised to the sky. It seemed like the world of burning flames was being fixed and repaired. What Domenech did seemed to be working. The white cracks in the sky stopped growing, and the world of burning flames that started to shake also stabilized. By seizing this opportunity, Domenech ordered the 40 lava giants to attack Emperor Yadatas quickly. He wanted to injure his opponent when he was distracted. However, humph! Useless. Emperor Yadatas didn't even look at the lava giants. He sneered and punched out. A dragon roar-like noise sounded, and it almost broke everyone's eardrum. The golden light beam turned into the shape of a dragon that was more than 1,000 meters long, and this dragon raised its head and roared. Instantly, the white cracks started to grow again under the sound wave, and the crackling noises resonated in the sky. The white cracks multiplied and soon looked like a spider web. Through the cracks, everyone was able to see the light coming in from the outside world. The natural laws inside the world of burning flames collapsed, and there were huge fluctuations of energy. The fire elements started to decrease in strength drastically, and the sea of lava quickly reduced in size like a swimming pool that got the plug pulled. The 40 lava giants that were attacking Emperor Yadatas all dulled down. Like toys that got their batteries removed, the orange flames on their bodies disappeared, and their bodies froze next. Soon, these lava giants turned from red to black, and the flames inside their eye sockets were gone as well. They turned into huge pieces of heated rocks, and they fell onto the ground. No! Impossible! How did you do this? The white-robed mage was screaming desperately in the sky. As he swung his wand, it felt like he was a gambler who lost the most critical bet in his life and believed that his shouts could undo everything. The world of burning flames finally collapsed. The shattered sky fell like broken red GLAs. Before these pieces could reach the ground, they turned into pure elements and dissolved in the air. Without Domenech's support and power, the sun anomaly couldn't sustain itself. At the same time, the mountain and the sea of lava also quickly disappeared and revealed the green GRAS as if what happened was only an illusion. Everyone returned to the level 36 region of the mythical palace. The GRAS and trees were lively, the breeze was comforting, and the birds were sings. Nothing was changed. There was no trace of battle in the area. Everything that took place felt just like a nightmare. Game over, Domenech. You still lost. Emperor Yadatas stood in midair with his hands behind his back. His powerful and ennobly aura was demonstrated, and he looked just like an emperor and a cultivation genius, handsome and dashing. No! Ha ha ha! It will never be over. Ha ha ha! You! All of this happened because of you, King Alexander of Chambord. I won't let you go even if I die. Domenech, who was in a desperation state, suddenly looked at Faye. He roared like a mad dog. This won't have happened if it wasn't for you. Ha ha! Yadatas, I will destroy this most talented young man in your zenith. Ha ha! I will make you regret this moment for the rest of your life. As this mage said that, he dashed down from the sky. In halfway, his body was enveloped by fire. Like a meteor that was coming down from the outer space, he struck at Faye with destructive power. The power of a Suncla.s. Lord was terrifying. Even though Faye's strength had been increasing rapidly and he was now a mid-tier half-moon elite, he was nothing in Domenech's eyes. That meteor was still more than 500 meters away. But that pressure also froze the king and the 4 people from the Holy Church. As if they were carrying a dozen huge mountains on their backs. They couldn't even move a single finger. Bam! Bam! 2 MUF-fled noises sounded. The 2 priests of the Holy Church couldn't endure this terrifying pressure, and their bodies exploded like watermelons that got hammered. Their flesh and bones were turned into a dust form, and they completely disappeared from this world. Only that Holy Knight Alan was able to survive after Jesse used his wings of bless, and tried his best to protect the weak Holy Knight. Although both of them lived, they fainted and lost consciousness. Too many bones in their bodies were broken, and Jesse himself was covered by blood with his wings of bless destroyed. Hey, fuck you. Amen. You came at me first, and you blame it on me after you got your butt kicked? Now, with this suicide-style attack, Faye felt like he was really unlucky. He unleashed all of his nightmare mode level 42 barbarian strength, and a thin layer of silver energy covered his body, giving his body a silver metal texture. In the same time, he took out a scroll from his storage space. However, before Faye could reveal this trump card of his, the meteor got struck by a dash of golden light 200 meters away. It exploded, and all of the pressure that Faye experienced disappeared. It was Emperor Yadatas.Sin who saved Faye at this critical moment. Of course, the two people of the Holy Church were saved as well. Faye relaxed and thought, "It is fortunate that Emperor Yadatas.Sin killed Domenech in time. Otherwise..." He suddenly thought of something and found something strange. Although that meteor exploded, no blood was seen, and no scream was heard. Even though Emperor Yadatas.Sin's dragon fist was more powerful than all of Domenech's techniques, it still shouldn't be able to wipe out Domenech cleanly. At this moment, a tiny red light disappeared into the sky, and an angry voice sounded, "Ha ha ha! Yadatas.Sin, you still couldn't kill me in the end. Now, the fact that you recovered will be known on the continent. The Leon Empire and the nearby empires will all know about it. You have been hiding well in the last 20 years, so you must be planning something. Ha ha ha! The Hunting Alliance will reform, and your ending will be worse than mine." It was Domenech who was escaping. What he did to Faye was only a distraction, and that meteor was just a fake. When Emperor Yadatas.Sin tried to save Faye, Domenech used a unique stealth technique and instantly traveled more than 1,000 meters. No wonder he was able to make a name for himself. As soon as the situation got ugly, he ditched everything and successfully escaped from Emperor Yadatas.Sin. "Want to go? Ha. I'm afraid that you can't get out of this mythical altar," Emperor Yadatas.Sin shouted before turning into a dash of gold light and chasing after that red light. Emperor Yadatas.Sin's two guards also moved and followed them. The 4 dashes of light soon disappeared into afar. Faye felt like before Emperor Yadatas.Sin chased after Domenech, he turned around and glanced at him. When he got looked at, Faye felt like all of the secrets on him were seen through, and he felt an unprecedented powerlessness. This terrifying pressure was several times greater than the pressure that Domenech, the Xianxia Lord, gave him. A breeze blew by Faye, who was sweating buckets, and he felt like what happened was a dream. "We need to leave as well. After witnessing the battle of a Xianxia Lord, I got a lot of inspiration. I need to use this opportunity and try to advance in my level. Alexander, you are great. I hope that I can see you again." As if he was pondering about something, Crown Prince Girano of Saint Germain nodded at Faye friendly and waved his semi-geodetir combat weapon, Black Crystal Wand. A purple-blackish cloud appeared under his and his 4 maids' feet, and they flew toward one direction. They looked harmonious. "Ahaha, let's go as well. Such a battle is rare to see. It is a great opportunity for your 4. Let's find a safe place so you 4 could try to advance in realms in the mythical altar before the mythical gate closes." That royal master of Jax laughed and summoned the sand of earthly anger. After it covered his guard, Prince Farrington, and head disciple Modoc of Big Snow Mountain, an orange light flashed by, and they all disappeared. It was true that seeing such a profound battle up close would be of tremendous help for weaker masters. They would be able to sense the natural laws and pure elemental power clearly. If they were talented and lucky, they could even advance in realms and gain a brighter potential. Could even change their fates and allow them to advance to the realm of Xianxia in the future. The masters in the area soon left. Now there were only 4 people: Faye, Hazelbank, and the 2 fainted people of the Holy Church. "Your Majesty, what should we?" Hazelbank, who was wearing the black Hello Kitty mask, asked. "You should stay here and continue to heal up. This core region is very special, and you might be able to return to the realm of Xianxia.s soon. Also, please pay attention to the battle between Emperor Ya.s.Sin and Domenech. I have already found the mythical altar, and I should leave here immediately," Faye told the undead mage after some thinking. After experiencing that breathtaking battle, the king realized that his party was still too weak. Chambord as a whole was like a cave of ants in the eyes of Xianxia's lords. If he and Chambord wanted to survive in this chaotic world, they need a top-tier master. Although Faye could level up quickly through the Diablo world, he couldn't become a Suncla.s lord in a short time. However, Hazelbank could. Before he was chased and hunted by the Holy Church, he was already a Suncla.s lord. After Faye used his pure death energy to cleanse and strengthen the energy channels inside Hazelbank's body, this undead mage was already back to a peak full moon elite. If he could recover more in this level 36 region, it was highly possible that he could return to his prime. Once Hazelbank was a Suncla.s lord, Faye and Chambord would be a lot safer. Okay then. But your majesty, after you finish your tasks, you should return to this place. After all, it is rare to witness such a battle. Especially that Yadastat he was able to defeat a Suncla.s lord as a Mooncla.s elite. It is shocking, and your majesty could get a lot from it. The undead mage nodded and tried to pervade, afraid that the king might miss this great opportunity. As he was about to leave, he suddenly looked at the two people of the Holy Church on the ground and frowned. Your majesty, what should we do about? I will figure it out. Faye suddenly thought of something as he looked at Jesse and said to Hazelbank. He felt like these two people could be very beneficial to him. Great! The undead mage replied and disappeared. He was moving toward the direction where Emperor Yadatas.Sin and Domenech went. Faye stood still and continued to think. Although he just had an idea, that idea was vague and unclear. He couldn't grasp the key. He shook his head and stopped thinking. After he grabbed Jesse and Alan with his hands, he opened the huge silver sword energy's wings on his back and dashed toward where he came from. He had to return to Dual Flag City immediately and heal, and wake up Angela and Elena with the World Stone. The loud, air-piercing noises sounded as Faye flew across the sky rapidly. GRA.S plain, hills, mountains, rivers, all of these places went by him quickly. For some reason, Faye was feeling very anxious. He felt like he overlooked something. Emperor Yadatas.Sin could defeat a Suncla.s lord head-on. This is shocking. The difference in realms is beyond imagination, but he is still able to defeat Domenech. Could it be that the actual divisions between levels aren't that strict? Or could it be that Emperor Yadatas.Sin is so talented that he could battle masters beyond his realm? After thinking back to what happened in the World or Burning Flames, Faye was very moved. The guards beside Emperor Yadatas.Sin and that Royal Master of Jax are all Mooncla.s elites. One of them is even a mid-tier New Moon elite. Why aren't they famous? Even the martial saints of the two empires aren't as powerful as them. Are these the hidden strength of the empires? Or something else is going on? Also, even though Jax and Zenith are technically in war, that Royal Master of Jax had been helping me. Also, Emperor Yadatas.Sin could easily kill these 4 people of Jax. But he didn't even look at them. Although Emperor Yadatas.Sin and that Royal Master of Jax didn't communicate, why do I feel like they are more like friends rather than enemies? All of these questions that he ignored before due to the intense battle appeared in his head. The sixth sense of the Nightmare Mode level 42 Barbarian was insane, and it allowed Faye to sense the strangeness of the battle. Also, the subtle harmony between people like Emperor Yadatas.Sin and that Royal Master was weird. Of course, these were nothing in front of the key issue as Faye found out why he was anxious. Since Emperor Yadatas.Sin had already recovered, he could have easily helped out and killed the challengers on the Martial Saint Mountain. Why did he wait until Krayzik died? Aren't they very close and intimate? Or could it be that Emperor Yadatas.Sin was trying to kill Krayzik? Faye's body shivered subconsciously when he thought about that. It better not be like this. I really don't want to stand on the other side of this genius. The more Faye thought about it, the more anxious he became. After half a day, Faye finally arrived at where he appeared in this world. On the summit of a huge mountain, there was a silver gate that was 3 meters tall. It was the elemental gate that teleported Faye and the other 4 old masters into this small world. Without hesitation, Faye dashed into it. Dual Flag City. For days had Paras.said. In the last 4 days, the spiritual pillar of the city, King Alexander of Chambord, never showed himself. Only a few top-tier commanders knew that the king was out of the city seeking methods to save the future queen and the Valkyrie. During this time, the soldiers and the residents were quite relaxed. Due to the consecutive wins under the command of the king of Chambord, the invaders of Jax backed off for more than 5 kilometers, and they weren't planning any sieges. Also, Faye's advertising campaign was working. His tactful techniques controlled the spread of rumors and brightened the hope in everyone's mind. Therefore, the soldiers weren't scared. Instead, they all wanted to get on the defense and battle alongside the king of Chambord. The only place in the city that was heavily guarded was the mayor's mansion. Since the 2 most important women in the king's life were resting in here, all the masters of Chambord except for Czech, who had to organize the patrol and defense, were all guarding this place. 50 Saint Seiya's were divided into 2 groups and patrolled outside the mayor's mansion for 24 hours, and the number 1 master in the city, Frank Lampard, was resting at the gate of the main palace. Under such heavy guard, even ordinary people could sense the bone-chilling murderous spirit coming from the mayor's mansion. On the afternoon of the 4th day, a thin figure appeared 500 meters away from the gate of the mayor's mansion. Should be here. Since it is this heavily guarded, they must be protecting someone or something. Humph! It must be the base of the king of Chambord. Haha! Since he isn't here, I will go in and kill a bunch of people to vent my anger. I bet he will be pissed said when he comes back. Ha ha ha! A vicious light appeared in this man's eyes. As he thought back to what the king of Chambord had done to him, he was even more triggered. This man was Tony, the second disciple of the Snow Mountain Hermit. After he and Snow Mountain Hermit lost the chance of getting an elemental gate and got severely injured, they immediately left the mythical palace after healing up a bit. After all, Tony had made too many enemies in there. Now, they got into Dual Flag City through the water wells, and they were resting and healing here. For some reason, Snow Mountain Hermit didn't hold Tony responsible for the betrayal. Instead, he still showed a lot of love for his disciple, and Tony got arrogant again. Initially, Snow Mountain Hermit already calculated the time. He was planning to rest in Dual Flag City before Faye came back and leave right after his strength recovered. He was going to take Tony back to Big Snow Mountain and told Tony not to cause more troubles. However, after 2 days of monotonous cultivation, Tony couldn't help himself but went out onto the street to chill. When he wandered to the mayor's mansion, he thought back to what had happened and couldn't hold back his murderous spirit. Whoosh! Tony quickly got around the Saint Seiya's and got into the mayor's mansion. Although he was as weak as a bug in front of Faye and could be even injured with a stare, his level 1 low-tier new moon strength was God-like in front of these low star-level warriors. In just half a minute, he easily bypassed said 4 layers of heavy guards and approached the main palace. Suddenly, a dash of lighting shot at him. Shit! Magic trap? Who is it? Who put so many magic traps around here? Amen. I didn't even spot them. For 100 meters away from the main palace, Tony got electrocuted. Smoke was coming out of his mouth, and his limbs were numbed. He didn't expect that there would be so many delicate magic traps around here. As a Moon CLA's elite, he didn't even sense their existence. After 1 lightning trap was triggered, it activated the traps around it. Instantly, Tony felt like he was in a lightning storm. Damn it! Break! Tony struck out, and a dash of fire destroyed the lightning webs. However, this instantly exposed him. Gasps sounded, and the Saint Seiya's and the Masters of Chambord instantly rushed over to this location. These magic traps were set up by Faye himself, and they were powerful yet stealth. They covered almost the entire area of the mayor's mansion, leaving only 1 path for people to walk on. Anyone who was an outsider would be easily identified. Who is it? How dare you sneak into the restricted area of Dual Flag City? A blond young man who was wearing a white robe appeared on top of a palace. With layers of green warrior energy flames on him, 3 arrows appeared on his bow as he pulled on the bowstring. The arrows targeted Tony, who was exposed, and this blond young man shouted, "Report your identity and surrender. Otherwise, you will be killed." At the same time, a lot of people appeared around him. There was Warden Oleg, who was huge and had an ugly centipede scar on his forehead. Pierce and Drogba, who were muscular and tough-looking, also appeared around Tony, blocking his path. Then Frank Lampard also appeared by the gate of the main palace. With that huge black sword standing in a rock beside him, he gave Tony some pressure even though he didn't say anything. Lightning was flashing around him, and he was about to reach mid-tier 9-star. Tony was a bit nervous now. He didn't expect to be discovered so soon. He knew that he underestimated the subordinates of the King of Chambord. However, with fire elemental warrior energy flames burning aggressively around him, his face was covered by them. Therefore, he wasn't worried about being identified by these people. Was he going to back off like this? He was unwilling to. After thinking back to the fact that the King of Chambord shouldn't be back yet and none of the people here could defeat against him, he got more courageous. He used his warrior energy to change his voice, and he said with a high-pitched tone, "Ha ha ha! You are like a group of chicken and dogs. Anyone who is in my way will die." Before he finished speaking, he dashed forward and rushed toward the main palace. "Do you want to die?" Torres growled as he released the 3 green arrows on his bow. Forming a triangular shape, these arrows were so fast that they instantly cut off Tony's exit path before the air-piercing noises could sound. Tony laughed loudly as he flicked his fingers 3 times. Bam! 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 The 3 arrows exploded and turned into dust. Damen! The masters of Chambord were shocked to see this. The king liked Torres, and this young man was the most talented warriors among these people. His archery allowed him to kill enemies who were above his level, and the technique he just used was called daily transformational 3 arrows. It was a technique that Faye taught this young man personally. It contained almost 100 potential changes, and even 8-star warriors would choose to back off in front of it. However, this mysterious man was able to destroy the arrows before the changes and transformations could take place. The strength of this intruder was beyond everyone's imagination. "Stay still." Corpse piling shock wave. Warden Oleg, who wasn't too far away, shouted, and the bones on his body crackled. His huge hill-like body started to shake, and his fists left 2 fist prints on the ground. Although nothing else took place, Tony, who was about 40 meters away, suddenly sensed danger. A powerful energy rushed up under him and struck his lower body. Such a strange technique, Tony thought as he stomped on the ground, and an even more powerful fire elemental energy shot forward. The ground started to shake, and the green stone tile on the ground were all thrown into the air. Soon, clouds of dust significantly reduced the visibility in the area. However, he was only able to block the attacks for less than 3 seconds. Suddenly, a huge shadow covered him from the top. At the same time, a dash of sharp sword energy shot at him. Tony's heart raced, and he strengthened his arms with his warrior energy before punching out. Boom! White-haired Pierce got knocked back like a metal ball, and he puked up a mouthful of blood. The difference between them was too much. Therefore, Tony easily dismantled Pierce's peak 6-star level strike. However, Tony didn't feel good afterward as well. He soon realized that it didn't matter if it was that blonde young man's 3 arrows, that huge ugly fatty's ultimate combat technique, or this white-haired man's invisible sword energy. They all contained a bit of mysterious power. Although this power was weak within their strikes, the power itself was limitless like the universe. It easily penetrated through his new moon-level fire elemental warrior energy and damaged his body. I need to end this battle quickly. Since these people are very nervous about the main palace, there must be something that the King of Chambord value in there. I need to destroy one and leave right away. After making the decision, Tony no longer hid his strength. His level 1 low-tier new moon strength was completely unleashed, and he flew towards the main palace rapidly. Whoosh! 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 Green arrows shot at the vital spots on Tony's body, such as the eyes, the throat, and the private region. Even though Torres' arrows were sharp and lethal, they couldn't get through the thick fire elemental warrior energy flames around Tony. Except for Torres, most other warriors of Chambord couldn't match with Tony's speed. There was only Frank Lampard standing in front of Tony right now. Back off! Lightning speed fist! Lampard roared as he punched out. This former #1 warrior of Chambord already knew that the enemy was powerful, so he didn't make a move. He had been unleashing his energy and preparing his mentality. At the moment, his 9-star lightning warrior energy circulated inside his body rapidly, and his spirit, will, and mood were in 100% alignment. He instantly used his most powerful combat technique, and bright white lights shined in the area. Every beam of light represented one punch. In 0.1 second, Lampard punched out numerous times, each strike containing the power of a mid-tier 9-star warrior. This was why powerful combat techniques were important. They would allow one to use power beyond his or her current level. Damn it! Fire explosion! Tony sensed an intense danger as Lampard was the closest to his level. He had to unleash all of his power and use Big Snow Mountain's S combat technique. Fire explosion. Puff! Puff! Ah! After their attacks collided, both of them opened their mouth and puked up a mouthful of blood. Lampard wasn't a MoonCLA.S elite yet, so getting injured was within expectation. On the other hand, Tony's foundation wasn't stable since he advanced with the help of elixirs, and he was injured severely in the mythical palace. To his surprise, he was injured by a 9-star warrior even after he used fire explosion. However, there was still a difference in strength between them. Tony only backed off for one step before stabilizing himself, but Lampard continued to back off until he went into the palace. Fire explosion! Fire explosion! Fire explosion! Tony, who was vicious and narrow-minded, got infuriated after he was injured again. He stopped trying to suppress the injuries in his body and unleashed all of his power. Boom! 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 3 dashes of devastating energy instantly covered the main palace, and Lampard, who was now inside the palace, was also enveloped by it. The warriors of Chambord were all shocked, and they rushed at Tony as they roared like beasts without worrying about getting killed. At this moment, an imaginable change occurred. Boom! As if something got ignited inside the main palace, a loud explosion sounded. The power of the explosion threw the roof of the palace into the sky, and huge pieces of rocks shot in all directions. A terrifying energy surge appeared, and everyone, including Tony, was blown away like a straw in a storm as they screamed and yelled. More than half of the mayor's mansion collapsed. The main palace was completely destroyed. Not even a tile was left. Right now, there was a huge deep pit at where the main palace was. Only thick black smoke and the burning red flames could be seen. Damn it! After seeing this scene, the warriors of Chambord were all shocked. They felt like they could only ask the king to kill them to make up for their mistakes. Before the king left, they all swore that they would protect future Queen Angela and Valkyrie with their lives. But now, the entire palace was blown into pieces, and the 2 girls who were unconscious could never survive that. Inside a pub that was in its business hours, there were a lot of people coming and going from this 3-story building. Most of these people were all famous people in the city. This pub's name was Ivy, and it sold the most famous rum in the area, and the strong aroma filled the street. It was heard that this pub opened for business when the city was first built, and that was 26 years ago. This pub was definitely one of the key establishments. This Ivy pub wasn't big, but its internal design was CLA.sick. Unlike other pubs in the city that were filled with mercenaries and were very noisy, it was quite peaceful. It sold hundreds of varieties of rums. When King Alexander hosted the party for the warriors who went into the desert to burn the enemy's food supplies, he ordered barrels of rums from this pub. After he took a sip, he immediately praised it and named it Hero's Liquor. Since then, the rum of the Ivy pub got even more famous, and Ivy pub looked like it was becoming the #1 pub in the city. Of course, only a few people knew that this pub was the property of Soros Merchant Group. In the last while, there were a lot of people coming to the pub to drink, and a lot of them were soldiers. After the king of Chambord drastically increased the salary of the soldiers, their life quality got improved. In order to show their admiration of the king, they all wanted to taste the rum that got named Hero's Liquor by His Majesty. The new female boss of the Ivy pub was able to utilize this opportunity. Using the name of giving benefits to the military, the pub started to offer a 30% discount to soldiers. As a result, this pub got even more business. Skola was a waiter in this pub. He had been working here for about 10 years. 10 years ago, his parent didn't have the resources to raise him, so they sold him to the pub. As a result, this pub was him home. It was fortunate that the manager John, who was about 70 years old, liked him and treated him as his own grandson, and it made Skola have a deeper connection with this place. About 4 days ago, old John retired due to his old age, and the mysterious big boss replaced him with a young woman. Skola was sad that old John was no wonder working in the pub, but he was glad that this new manager treated all the staff members well. Skola himself was promoted to the new yet strange position of lobby manager, and his privileges and salary were both doubled. He felt a little uneasy, but he worked even harder. He was really curious about this new young and beautiful boss. Of course, he also dreamed a little as a young man. The new boss was named Jessica, and she treated everyone like her family. She smiled with her eyes, and it was enough to melt everyone's heart. Skola knew that he wasn't the only one who had a crush on this beautiful boss. Right after Jessica became the boss of this Ivy pub, a lot of young commanders and graceful ennoblemen came here every day. They all wanted to get close to her. The braver ones were already confessing to her with roses all day long. However, Skola found that even though Jessica was kind to everyone, she didn't accept any of the men. A reckless young ennobleman got too drunk and wanted to tease Jessica a little after getting rejected, but he was caught by a bunch of soldiers and got his butt beat. A tall, dark, and dull-looking man was the most violent. He almost beat the crap out of this young ennobleman. When the young ennobleman got up and threatened, that man laughed and revealed his identity. He was Jessica's real brother, and he was also King Alexander's personal guard. That young ennobleman was terrified. He kneeled in front of Jessica, crying and begging for forgiveness. Only after Jessica forgave him did he run away like a defeated chicken. To be honest, no one was surprised to see this. It was clear to everyone that King Alexander hated the corrupted and greedy ennobles. After the leaders of the 7 ennoble families, who committed unspeakable crimes, were killed, the residents in Dual Flag City had no doubt that the King of Chambord would raise his execution blade again. After what happened a few days ago, no more people dared to harass Jessica, and the business and the orderliness of the bar got a lot better. However, this also made Skola a little sad. He knew that he could only dream about his beautiful boss and it couldn't become a reality. Even though that was the case, Skola was still working. However, when he looked at the strange customer sitting in front of him, he who worked at Ivy Pub for more than 10 years and was experienced didn't know what to do. This strange customer came into the pub 3 days ago, and he looked like he was an 8 or 9 years old boy. In the beginning, everyone including Skola thought that this angel-like young boy was lost by his parents and wandered into the pub. However, that wasn't the case. This little guy was very familiar with the setting of a bar, and he wasn't timid at all. He threw more than a dozen gold coins onto the table and asked the waiters to serve him the best rum. He looked like an alcoholic who frequented this place. People tried to tell this boy not to drink too much. However, this boy acted ferociously, and no one dared to trigger him. He was still not drunk after chugging down 40 pints of rums, so people knew that he wasn't an ordinary being. For 3 days, this boy didn't ask anything except for drinks. Until all the barrels around him were empty, he finally looked a little drunk. His face turned red, and he looked even cuter. Anyone who saw him wanted to hug him and pinch his cheeks. However, after seeing this, no one saw him as a kid. In the last 3 days, more than 100 men had tried to get him drunk, but those men were destroyed regarding drinking abilities. Many residents of the city had come here to see this young boy who was creating a miracle. More. Quick. More. Ha ha ha. This is great. Ha ha. This boy patted the table and shouted. In front of him, there were still 16 men who blacked out. Boss, should we still serve him? He might actually be a demon beast in human skin. Who else could drink this much? Skola stood in front of the bar and asked Jessica. He was very nervous. For the last 10 years he worked here, he had never seen anyone who could drink as much as this young boy, not even 1/100th of his consumption. Of course, we will serve him as long as he still wants to drink. Jessica smiled and replied, "All right." After seeing his boss smile, this lobby manager got into high spirits. He waved at his men, and 2 people carried the 108th barrel of rum to this boy. Jessica, who was watching this boy drink, was very shocked herself. However, one of Soros Merchant Group's missions was to pay attention and try to recruit unique and strange characters. Jessica grew up in an impoverished neighborhood. Since her brother got lucky and met the king of Chambord, she was taken along for the ride. She just became one of the most popular younger managers, and she learned a lot of stuff from Abramovich. After knowing all sorts of strange and bizarre incidents, her view broadened. In terms of the boy in front of her, Abramovich told her personally that she should try to satisfy all of his requests. As she ordered the waiters to give this boy more rum, she observed him carefully. To be honest, Jessica felt like what happened in the last few days was still like a dream to her. She had never imagined that she could be lucky enough to meet the Jodi-like King Alexander. Even though Faye didn't reveal his identity that evening, Jessica still had a great impression of him. When she later found out through Husky that Faye was the king of Chambord, she couldn't believe her ears. However, the truth also disappointed her. Jessica suddenly felt like the distance between her and that handsome and unique young man increased so much that she couldn't see where he was. What happened afterward was smooth. After Husky became Faye's personal guard, she got the invitation from Soros Merchant Group. She was smart, and she knew what was going on. This suddenly gave this girl a glimpse of hope. She accepted the invitation instantly. She wasn't too interested in the fame and the money. Instead, she just wanted to get closer to that figure. In the last while, the smart Jessica had been improving her knowledge and understanding of the world with the help from masters in the trade like Abramovich. Observing this boy was one of the homework that Abramovich gave Jessica. The sun was about to set, and the temperature turned cold. The customers in the pub started to decrease, and the busy day was about to end. Since the curfew was still in effect, the pub would be closed during the night. From what happened in the last 3 days, it seemed like this boy was going to rest in the room provided by the pub, and he was going to battle with the strong men again tomorrow morning and see who could drink the most. The waiters were prepared to close the pub down. At this moment, a series of loud booming noises and roars sounded. It seemed like masters were battling each other. Everyone was surprised, and they looked in the direction of the noises. Who dares to cause trouble in the mayor's mansion at this time? That place is now the temporary headquarters of Wolf Teeth Legion, and it is King Alexander's resting spot. There are layers of defense, and someone dares to make a mess there? Could it be that the sand ghosts of Jax are sneak attacking the #1 commander? They thought nervously. Jessica was shocked. She looked up and saw colorful warrior energy flames flashing on top of the mayor's mansion. It was clear that a battle was going on. Nice liquor. Haha. My life in the last few days is sweet. No one is looking over me. Nice. What is that noise? A fight? This sensation is familiar. Oh, damn it. I neglected my main duty. After sensing what was happening in the mayor's mansion, the drunk boy suddenly woke up. As if he realized something, his face changed color, and dashes of lights appeared in his eyes. He was no longer in the mood to drink, and he instantly dashed toward the mayor's mansion. Boom! The boy was so anxious that he directly went through the thick wall of the pub, leaving a child-shaped hole on it. In addition, the wind created by his movement instantly blew off the roofs of multiple buildings in his path. This scene made Jessica and everyone else in the pub gasped in shock. So powerful. Scola swallowed his drools subconsciously and commented. No one expected that this boy would be so powerful. His small body was able to create a human-shaped hole on the wall easily. It looked like the masterpiece of an artist. Scola turned around and looked at his beautiful boss. Now, he had to admit that this girl who was younger than him was indeed intelligent. She had seen through this child and knew that he is powerful. That is why she asked me to be very respectful toward him, he thought. While Scola thought that way, Jessica was thinking about something else. Manager Abramovich is indeed wise. He knew that this boy is majestic, and that was why he told me to treat this boy nicely. He even put in some effort and moved more than half of the rum supply of Soros Merchant Group into this pub. Is this little guy a friend or a foe? He is so powerful. Is he an enemy of Mr. Alexander? If that is the case, it would be terrible. Wait, Mr. Alexander is the guardian of the city, and it is heard that even the GODS couldn't defeat him. Even if this boy is powerful, he couldn't win against Mr. Alexander. This boy is really cute. He couldn't be a bad person, and he must be Mr. Alexander's friend. Jessica suddenly felt very anxious, and she looked in the direction of the mayor's mansion and pondered. At the same time, inside a deserted yard located in the ghetto of Dual Flags City, Snow Mountain Hermit, who was trying to heal up inside the isolation magic array, suddenly sensed something. His facial expression dropped, and he thought angrily, Tony? Amen it. This blind idiot. He is causing me more trouble. He offended the king of Chambord to the maximum. Does he want to die? Why do I have such a... No. I need to go and quickly take him back to Big Snow Mountain. The king of Chambord is thoughtful. He must have other arrangements. We need to leave the city right now. This man started to sweat rapidly. He was scared by Faye by too much. Boom! Fire elemental warrior energy flames appeared on him, and he dashed toward the mayor's mansion without worrying about covering his trail and healing the injuries. He just wanted to leave with Tony before the king of Chambord returned. The burning flames released an insane amount of energy, and all the rocks in the area were burned soft and were almost turning into lava. Black smoke was rushing into the sky, and the thick sulfur smell dispersed into the area. It looked like a scene from HELL. This was what the mayor's mansion looked like now. The main palace was struck by Wuxia's combat technique, fire explosion, several times, and a sudden mysterious explosion completely obliterated it. In addition, the side palaces near the main palace were also destroyed. Broken walls and chipped tiles were everywhere, and the warriors of Chambord saw some torn white dresses, broken limbs, and dried-up blood spots. The atmosphere was so dense that the air almost froze. All of the masters of Chambord were knocked more than 20 meters away, and they were staring at the tragedy in front of them. Tony used his Wuxia's combat technique multiple times, got hit by the energy waves, and was injured by the mysterious power hidden inside the attacks of the warriors of Chambord, and his warrior energy couldn't flow appropriately inside his body. As a result, he couldn't leave right away. On the other hand, the warriors of Chambord were affected by the explosions as well. They were injured to various degrees, but most of them were still a distance away from the main palace and weren't injured too much. Lampard and Torres, who were closest to the main palace, were affected the most. Fortunately, Lampard was the strongest warrior among everyone, and he was able to protect the vital spots on his body with his lightning elemental warrior energy. Although he got blew away, he wasn't too injured. Torres, who was standing on the roof of the main palace, leaped into the air using his wind elemental warrior energy as the explosion occurred, and he was able to safely land outside the explosion zone by stepping on the rocks that flew toward him from the explosion. At the moment, the warriors of Chambord looked at the HELL-like scene in front of them and felt a chill in their spines. Queen Angela and Valkyrie Elena, they thought, kill him to avenge for the queen. Oleg, who was quite injured and was covered in blood, shouted. His eye turned red, and he rushed toward Tony. Since Tony wasn't able to adjust his state yet, this low-tier New Moon elite was seized by Oleg. As Oleg started to squeeze Tony's neck using his arms, it was clear that he was planning to choke this enemy to death. Tony puked up a mouthful of blood, and his vision darkened. Several of his rib bones got broken, and he was dying due to the choke. He struggled like a madman and struck at Oleg's arms forcefully, shouting, "Ah! So much pain. Fuck off. You bug. Do you want to die? Ah!" Tony was a Wuxia's elite after all, and he easily smashed Oleg's arm bones into pieces. "Let's die together. You killed Her Highness. You killed Queen Angela. You killed my chance of behaving like a good person. Ah!" Oleg's face paled, and his arm bones were now smashed into small pieces. Layers of broken muscles and tendons were connecting his arms. However, as if he couldn't sense the pain, his arms were still glued together, choking Tony down. Warden Oleg was in a frenzied state. He was once the henchman of the former head minister of Chambord, Bazar. He had done many evil deeds, and many people asked Faye to execute him after the city was liberated. However, the king didn't do that. Instead, Faye gave Oleg the opportunities to redeem himself. In the beginning, Oleg was trying to put on a good performance so that he won't die. But as he did more work, the people started to look at him differently. The initial disdain turned into appreciation, and the hatred turned into friendliness. For the first time, Oleg got an unprecedented sense of achievement, and he felt the honor of being a good person. Oleg swore that he was going to maintain and keep up this honor, and he promised himself that he would become of the key assistant of the king such as Pierce, Drogba, Torres, and Czech. His dark past made him feel a little inferior, but it also gave him a lot of motivation. He was willing to sacrifice everything for the king, including his life. But now, this damning enemy in front of him destroyed Oleg's honor by killing the two girls inside the main palace. Oleg knew how important those two girls were to King Alexander. According to the traditions on the Azeroth continent, he lost all of his dignity and honor since he wasn't able to protect Angela and Elena as Faye's subordinate. In his eyes, losing the honor was equivalent to losing everything else in his life, including his ident.I.tie as a good person. Therefore, he was going to kill this murderer even if he would die himself. "Come on! Kill him! Don't worry about me!" Oleg shouted. Everyone, including the weakest bronze saints, roared like wild beasts and charged at Tony with craziness in their eyes. The fearlessness of the warriors of Chambord terrified Tony. At this moment, he felt like the bugs that he could easily kill before were now invincible. Tony started to regret. He regretted not listening to his master's advice on avoiding the king of Chambord, and he even regretted coming down Big Snow Mountain. It would be great if he never met the king of Chambord and could still be the influential figure on Big Snow Mountain. Whoosh! A dash of red light appeared in the sky, and it was approaching with insane heat waves around it. It was Snow Mountain Hermit. "Master! Master! I'm here. Please save me." Tony was scared by how ferocious these warriors of Chambord were. Since he was a low-tier New Moon elite, he could easily get out of the current situation. However, just like how a flower grown in a greenhouse couldn't withstand the chilliness of the outside world, Tony was so scared that he felt weak and couldn't react properly to his surroundings. Boom! Snow Mountain Hermit struck downward with his palms. The indefensible heat wave instantly knocked all of the warriors of Chambord aside. This man in red wasn't a fake Moonseal's elite like Tony. He was an experienced warrior, and he easily pushed the warriors of Chambord away and saved Tony. Fortunately, Warden Oleg was only knocked out and not killed. Snow Mountain Hermit didn't want to escalate the conflict with the king of Chambord. Otherwise, he could have easily wiped out everyone in the area with one strike. Snow Mountain Hermit instantly appeared in the yard and grabbed onto Tony's shoulder. "Why did you come here? Do you want to die?" he shouted as he was about to get away from this place instantly. "Where do you think you are going?" A childlike voice sounded in the sky, and it was filled with anger. Snow Mountain Hermit was shocked, and he looked up and saw a blond boy with a strange black mask on his face. As this boy stood in midair, cold lights shot out of his cute eyes. At the moment, his eyes turned 100% black, and they were like two abysses that could suck people's souls into them. Also, as a gray energy flowed around him, he seemed a little majestic. "It's you! Aren't you already in the Elemental Gate with the King of Chambord? Why are you here?" Snow Mountain Hermit was shocked. He swore that he saw this boy go into the Elemental Gate. But why was he here now? Could it be that the King of Chambord is already back? He was concerned. "It is me, and you two would need to stay here and endure Alexander's anger." As Arthur's voice sounded in the sky, he already appeared behind this man in red. Bam! Snow Mountain Hermit was shocked, and he was half a second slower. He could only try to match up against his opponent's strike with his hand, but he instantly sensed a suction force. Then, A strange yet chilly energy rushed into his body and froze his fire elemental warrior energy. This? Undead energy? You! Snow Mountain Hermit was shocked. When he looked down, it wasn't a child's pink hand but a bone dragon's claws. There was a black and metal glare on it, and it looked terrifying. You realized too late. In order to instantly defeat this not-so-weak opponent, Arthur revealed his undead bone claws despite the risk of getting discovered, and a thick undead energy immediately rushed into Snow Mountain Hermit's body. He was not prepared for this, and he was still injured. Therefore, he got his energy channels instantly concealed by his opponent. Arthur then quickly moved around and smacked Snow Mountain Hermit's and Tony's back, and both of them puked up a mouthful of blood before losing their consciousnesses. Tink. 2 geodefooling badges were placed on them. Since undead energy entered their bodies, the people of the Holy Church might sense it. The geodefooling badges could block the undead energy on them and would save a lot of trouble. Arthur didn't kill them. He wanted to wait for Faye's return. Go check in the fire. Her Highness might be still alive. Lampard, who was severely injured, shouted. After seeing the sudden appearance of this boy and how he defeated the enemies, Lampard guessed that he was on their side. Only masters could see through the fire, so Lampard wanted Arthur to see if the girls were still alive. No need. I will do it myself. A loud and angry voice sounded from afar. As a silver light flashed by, someone appeared in front of them. After the 2 people in his hands were put on the ground, he dashed into the flames. It was King Alexander of Chambord. Your Majesty! After seeing Faye's return, the warriors of Chambord cried out. They were happy to see him return safely, but they were ashamed for what had happened. As a result, they all single-kneeled and didn't dare to look up. Faye threw a bottle of full rejuvenation potion to Torres and shouted, "Save him first! Oleg is in a critical condition." After he said that, he put Jesse and Alan, who were still unconscious, on the ground and continued, "Take care of these 2 people as well." Whoosh! As his body turned into a silver flash of light, his nightmare mode level 42 barbarian strength was unleashed. As a silver light sphere appeared around him, he dashed into the flames. Torres quickly poured the full bottle of purple potion into Oleg's mouth. The warden was on the verge of death. After taking in the potion, this fatty's pale face finally had a bit of redness to it. His breathing turned long and peaceful, and the injuries on his body were quickly recovering. His arms that were completely turned into meat paste and bone dust stopped bleeding and started to wriggle. However, since his arms were too severely damaged, there wasn't too much that full rejuvenation potion could do. Oleg still didn't wake up from it. People like Pierce and Drogba looked at each other and felt ashamed after looking at Oleg. Although they slowly accepted this fat flatter, they still held some grudges in their minds. Oleg once worked for the former head minister Bazar, and he was in charge of the prison system at Chambord, resulting in the death of innocent people. That was the reason why Oleg was on the edge of the group and was being slightly disliked by others. However, what this fatty, who loved to flatter the king, did today was enough to make the warriors of Chambord, who thought that they were ferocious themselves, feel embarrassed. That said, the combat ability this fatty just displayed shocked everyone. If it weren't for him, Tony would have probably gotten away. At this moment, all the warriors of Chambord except this obscene yet timid fatty. They now saw him as one of the core members of Chambord. On the side, Arthur was nervously playing with the bottom of his inner shirt. Although the mask covered his face, he probably had an embarrassed expression on his face. Faye asked him to stay out of the level 36 region to monitor Snow Mountain Hermit and Tony, just in case they did desperate and stupid things that would harm Dual Flag City and the people in it. However, he was too caught up in the pub and didn't complete his duties. How can I present myself to Alexander? Amen. My face is all gone, he thought. Although he only joined Faye's force for less than 10 days, there was already a strange bond between them. Arthur cared about Faye, but there was a bit of respect and fear in the intimacy. Suddenly, a gasp sounded. Huh? This? What is this? It was Faye's voice. What was surprising was that Faye's tone didn't sound sad. Instead, it was filled with surprise and shock. It was clear that he encountered something strange, and it seemed like the two girls weren't injured. Those burning flames quickly weakened, and the terrifying heat in the area also dropped. The chilliness of the winter re-enveloped the land, and the thick black smoke around the collapsed mayor's mansion was disappearing. However, there was a slight smell of sulfur in the air, making the atmosphere quite strange. "What is going on?" The warriors of Chambord all rushed toward the core of the ruins. Even though they were injured, they were more curious about what had happened and didn't even try to heal up first. The first thing that they saw was the king's figure. He was blocking everyone's sight, but his body was shaking violently as if a strong emotion consumed him. Only after the warriors of Chambord got closer and walked around Faye did they see something shocking and unimaginable. The stone bed that Angela and Elena were sleeping on were protected by an invisible energy sphere that had the diameter of 6 meters. The powerful explosion that just took place didn't affect the two girls and their bed. The white veil surrounding the bed was still there, and the velvet quilt was still keeping the two girls warm. Not even a speck of dust could be seen on them. However, the reason why they were shocked was that there were now 3 terrifying monsters around the huge stone bed. Each of the monsters looked similar, and their bodies were all huge. Their lower legs were thick and power, but their front legs were shorter and thinner. Scales covered their bodies, and there were fin-like small wings on their backs. Sharp bone spikes could be seen on the back of their knees and their heads, and their eyes were huge. The 3 monsters were blue, red, and green respectively. The red monster was the biggest. It was more than 10 meters long, and its tail was at least 5 meters. Its body curled around the stone bed. Every time it opened its mouth, light yellow energy would spit out. This energy was filled with the smell of sulfur, and it felt like it would start burning at any second. The blue monster was small, only 6 meters long. Its body had a mystic glare to it, making it look like a snow mountain. It was giving off a chilly energy, and it seemed intelligent. The last green monster was only 4 meters long, but it made people feel like it was extremely agile and dangerous. Its green scales had the texture of metal. If its big black eyes were rolling around viciously, people might have mistaken it as a metal statue. The 3 monsters tightly guarded the stone bed, and their eyes were filled with anxiousness. As a series of deep roars sounded, an invisible pressure appeared. It made the masters of Chambord felt like they were facing 3 powerful masters, and they knew that the monsters would attack if they got any closer. What demon beasts are these? For a moment, people like Drogba and Pierce looked at each other and didn't know what to do. They didn't know where these 3 monsters came from. These 3 monsters all looked vicious, and their auras and clever-looking eyes told everyone that they were powerful demon beasts. "Don't get any closer, and don't provoke them," Faye said to his subordinates and waved his hand as a strange expression appeared on his face. At this moment, Faye already guessed the origin of these monsters. The dark red magic box that Angela always had with her was placed on the bedside table, and it was now open. However, the 3 oval-shaped eggs were nowhere to be seen. Faye took a closer look and saw some specks of white sh-L dust on the table and the quilt. Impossible! Could it be that the 3 lifeless eggs got incubated? But they felt like 3 rocks. How could rocks be incubated? Could it be that these 3 eggs are special, and the outer rock-like sh protected the embryos inside the eggs? Faye was very shocked, and it seemed like there was no other way to explain the appearance of these 3 monsters. Also, after a while of observations, the king discovered something interesting. Although the 3 monsters looked vicious and terrifying, their big eyes were clear and bright, just like those of the infants. It felt like they were 3 children who were naive and curious about the outside world. While they were anxious about the people around them, they were observing the strange world. In addition, it seemed like these 3 monsters were extraordinarily intimate toward the 2 girls who were still unconscious, as if they were their mothers. They surrounded the stone bed not because they wanted to harm the girls. Instead, they were protecting them. The roars made by these 3 creatures were filled with anxiousness. It felt like they were trying to wake the 2 girls up, telling them that it was extremely dangerous around here. Could it be that these three newborns think that Angela and Elena are their moms? Faye felt like he understood something. It was heard that many creatures would treat the first things they see as their parents. Faye recalled that such things happened on Earth where a puppy thought a pig was its mom and a cat thought a hen was its mom. It wasn't something fake. Perhaps these three little monsters saw Angela and Elena right away after they broke through the eggs, and they thought that they were their parents. Ever since Faye got these three eggs, Angela had been taking care of them. She especially designed the nursery-like magic boxes for them to keep them warm. If these three monsters were able to sense what was happening, they might have believed that Angela was their mom before they broke out of the SHLS, and that was why they were protecting the two girls right now. What a surprise! Faye slowly calmed himself down and tried to be relaxed. He wanted to be seen as harmless to these three monsters, and he slowly approached the stone bed. The most urgent matter right now was to quickly get these two girls into safety and wake them up using the World Stone. Any delay might increase the danger. Hiss! The red monster let out a deep roar. As vicious lights appeared in its eyes, the blue pupil turned red. The sharp and organized teeth in its mouth looked terrifying, and its snake-like split tongue made a series of hissing noises like a lizard. Don't be nervous. Cutie, I'm your mom's boyfriend. Yeah, don't worry. I'm here to save your mom. I'm going to heal here. Right? Don't be nervous. Listen. Don't spit fire. Stop. I'm your dad. Faye's plan failed miserably. He was carefully approaching the monsters and trying to comfort the red monster. However, who knew that this red monster didn't buy it? When Faye got within 2 meters from it, it opened its mouth and spat out a mouthful of red flames. The temperature of the surroundings instantly increased a lot, and the smell of sulfur became dense. Faye was taken by surprise, and he immediately sensed that burning sensation on his face. He inhaled the nose-piercing air, and he almost suffocated. Fortunately, he had a fast reaction, and his silver light sphere instantly appeared and blocked the high heat. Damn it! The power of this fire. It is terrifying. It is on the level of fire elemental warrior energy of Wuxia's elites. Faye got so mad that he pointed at the red monster and shouted, "Damn it! Why don't you recognize your dad?" At this moment, the warriors of Chambord all laughed after seeing this, and the atmosphere got a lot less tense. However, the undead bone dragon observed this with shock in its eyes. It felt like Arthur thought of something but couldn't be entirely sure. After the red monster turned Faye's face black, it shouted proudly and shook its head. It was showing off to the blue and the green monsters, and it looked a little cute despite its vicious appearance. Looks like I have to use my ultimate technique. Faye thought about it and switched to druid mode. The druid character was far weaker than the barbarian character, and Faye would be severely injured if he got spit on again. After he backed off to a safe distance, he tried to communicate with the three monsters. Using the power of the druid, Faye clearly sensed the mood of these three creatures. They were curious about the new surroundings, but they were also a bit careful. Perhaps it was due to Tony's fire explosions. The energy around them was a little chaotic, and they were hostile toward everyone around them. Like hedgehogs that raised the spikes on their bodies, they were trying to defend themselves. Also, he could tell that the three creatures were very intimate toward Angela and Elena. Especially Angela, the bond between them was stronger than that of a mother and children. Using the power of the druid, Faye easily communicated to these three monsters by bypassing the language barrier. Soon, something unbelievable happened. Faye was still trying to think of a way to convince these three creatures who were highly anxious and hostile towards the people around them, but the red monster seemed like it discovered a new continent, tilted its head and re-observed Faye. Then, it out a series of joyous cheers and rushed toward him using all 4 of its legs and its small wings on its back like a puppy that saw its owner. Faye was surprised at first. However, he quickly calmed down since he discovered no murderous spirit on it. Instead, it felt like this red monster knew him for a long time and was looking at him intimately. Faye opened up his arms, and the red monster jumped onto him. Faye got pushed onto the ground unexpectedly, and it was still making a series of happy noises. Its red tongue licked Faye's face, like an overexcited puppy. After a moment of pause, the blue and the green beast reacted and rushed toward Faye as well. Just like the red monster, they licked Faye's face and neck and made a series of intimate cries. "Oh, okay, okay. As long as you recognize me. Oh, stop licking me. Let me get up." Faye finally got off of the ground. The druid character wasn't great in terms of strength. Although the three creatures were only in their infancy stage, their strengths were already very powerful. Therefore, Faye was barely able to get up and get out of the three creatures' hugs. The red monster was obviously a fire elemental demon beast. When it licked Faye's face, Faye sensed a burning sensation on his cheek as if he was sprayed by pepper water. On the other hand, the blue monster was an ice elemental demon beast, and Faye felt like he was being licked by ice. The green monster was more normal. Faye didn't discover its elemental energy yet, but he just felt like its tongue was extremely tough like a rough piece of metal. The three monsters let out a series of cheerful cries, and they lied around Faye intimately, as if they were puppies that were waiting for their master to feed them. This scene shocked everyone there. They were surprised by how the king easily tamed the three terrifying monsters, but they were actually shocked by how intelligent these three monsters were. These monsters had the intelligence of 9-year-old kids. "Okay. Can I now go and check up on your mom now?" Faye tried to communicate with the three monsters. As he expected, they didn't stop him anymore. These three little creatures were actually able to stand up straight and walk on their two back legs, and they pulled on Faye's shirt and tried to pull him to the stone bed. As they pointed at the two girls who were on the bed with their claws, anxiousness appeared in their bright eyes as they spoke a series of gibberish. Then, they turned to the warriors of Chambord and roared, "Ha ha ha! It is fine. They are on our side. Guys, let them over." Faye smiled and said to the three creatures. Then, he waved at the warriors of Chambord and ordered them to start cleaning this place. Afterward, he found a magic carriage and placed both Angela and Elena in there carefully. The three curious creatures, who pulled on Faye's shirt and tried to ask him what everything was around them, followed behind the carriage and entered a new safe courtyard with them. Faye reorganized the setup in this building. This time it was loose on the outside but tight on the inside. Nothing looked strange from the outside, but there were multiple watchtowers on the inside. In addition, Faye placed a ton of magic traps in the yard and the buildings. After scolding Arthur, he also placed the undead bone dragon in this building for redemption. Therefore, safety shouldn't be an issue now. Next, I need to find Akira and Kane to figure out how to use the World Stone. After arranging everything, Faye stood outside of the building and thought about what he should do next. Suddenly, a series of intimate yet strange cries sounded by his ears. He rubbed his temples helplessly and patted the head of the three monsters who were following him tightly. It seemed like these three were hard stuck to him. It didn't matter where he went, these three monsters would follow. Faye was still very curious about the three mysterious creatures in front of him. These little lizard-like demon beasts were probably ancient species. Otherwise, their eggs wouldn't look like fossils. Also, Faye got them from a very mysterious source. He bought the eggs from a mysterious old man who was selling stuff from mythical ruins, and that old man disappeared after Faye brought things from him. No one in Dual Flags City knew what they were. However, these three creatures were too smart. In less than one day, they adapted to their surroundings and had the intelligence of 8 or 9-year-old kids. Now, Faye realized why they were so friendly towards him. Before these creatures came out of the egg, Angela asked him to detect and see if there were still life forms in the eggs. Therefore, although he didn't discover anything, some of the power of his druid character was left in the eggs, and these creatures probably thought that he was their dad. Haha! 3 little followers. Right, you guys don't have names yet. I will give you names so that it will be better call you. The red one, since you can spit fire and like to fight, I will call you Thug. Haha. The blue one, you are cuter than the other two and is shy like a female. I will call you Chick. You. The green one, you try to look cool so that I will call you Hooligan. Ha ha ha. These 3 names are great. You guys must like them. Haha. Since Angela and Elena weren't going to die, the World Stone got purified, and he somehow got 3 mysterious yet powerful demon beasts. Faye was in a great mood. Therefore, like a prankster, he gave them their names while ignoring their protests. In the end, the three creatures had to accept it. However, it seemed like the three creatures started to realize that their dad wasn't too reliable. Okay, that is settled. Thug, take Chick and Hooligan back to your mom and protect them, Faye said. However, as soon as he said that, he almost burst out laughing. The three demon beasts understood the king, and Thug nodded excitedly and patted its chest. Then, it took the other two back into the building and laid down around Angela and Elena. Although they were little, these demon beasts were powerful. The two girls were in an even safer place. At this moment, Torres suddenly walked through the door and saluted. He asked, "Your Majesty, what should we do to those two captives of Big Snow Mountain? Do you want to interrogate them right now?" Torres paused for a second and signaled with his eyes. He wondered if the king wanted to torture the captives since they destroyed the mayor's mansion and almost killed Angela and Elena. If the king didn't stop him, Warden Oleg would have skinned them and turned them into meat paste. Faye thought about it and shook his head. "I have no time to deal with them now. Lock them up. Since Arthur locked their warrior energies with his own energy, they should be on the level of ordinary people. After I take care of the urgent matters, I will deal with them myself," he said. The most important thing right now was to wake up Angela and Elena. Faye didn't want to be bothered with anything. Of course, Faye won't let Snow Mountain Hermit and Tony go. He was going to teach them the lesson when he has time. "As you wish." Torres bowed and left. Although he didn't know where Arthur came from, he knew that this boy was a master. The fact that Arthur easily captured two Moon-class elites was still being talked about by the warriors of Chambord. Also, since it seemed like Arthur was the king's friend and also the subordinate, Torres calmed down a lot. With such a powerful master in the city, Chambord didn't need to worry about the sieges of the enemies. After some consideration, Torres asked another question. "Your Majesty, how should we deal with the two members of the Holy Church that you brought back?" "Send someone and bring them back to the church in the city. Let the Holy Church heal them up." Before having a comprehensive plan and strategy, Faye didn't want to get in direct contact with this mammoth on Azeroth continent. After getting other things organized and ignoring the meeting requests from commanders and nobles, Faye entered Diablo World directly. 3 days later, a new altar was constructed in the new courtyard, and it was more than 10 meters tall. The light yellow stones created 9 levels, and each level was a circular disc was about 1 meter tall. If one took a closer look, they would realize that it was almost a replica of the mythical altar. Even though there were fewer magic engravings, the patterns and arrays still filled the altar. The Saint Seiyas of Chambord, who were fully armored, circled around it, displaying their murderous spirit. "You sure that this will work? There is no danger." Faye circled around the small altar and asked. "You asked the same question more than 100 times. If you are not annoyed yet, I am. I can promise you that it is safe," Akira said helplessly. Thank God that she could understand Faye's internal state. Otherwise, she would have already started swearing. After all, anyone would be annoyed if someone asked them the same question more than 100 times. Okay. Faye scratched his head. Angela and Elena were placed on the top level of the altar, and the purified world stone laid in a small dent between them. As this precious item rested in the prearranged location, it emitted waves of pure energy. A ton of magic engravings and magic arrays were set up around the altar. Akira and Kane discovered these special magic arrays from studying the runes and symbols floating around on the walls of that mysterious stone room, and they were great at concealing energies and auras. God-fooling badges were the extension products of these runes. Since this altar would pull energy from the world stone, the vast and pure energy would attract the attention of the masters nearby. Therefore, they had to utilize these magic arrays to hide everything. "All right, let's start," Akira said after she finished engraving the last magic array onto the altar. Just as Faye got close to Whitebeard Kane, this old man shouted before Faye could speak, "Shut up! I know what you want to ask. I can promise you that it is 100% safe." Faye was a little speechless. Just as the last magic array was engraved correctly, Both Akira and Kane used the 3 perfect magic gems that were prepared ahead of time to activate the outer stealth array. A thin layer of light sphere appeared and enveloped the altar and the area around it. All sensations were blocked off, and it felt like a small world of its own. Then, Akira and Kane activated this mimicked mythical altar using 9 perfect magic gems. Except for the 9th level that wasn't moving, all other 8 levels rotated rapidly. Sparks flew, and a small tornado was almost created. On the 9th level, the World Stone shone brightly, and the blue light lit up both Angela and Elena. Faye paid close attention to this. The process was short. After about 30 seconds, the altar slowed down, and the World Stone on it dimmed and no longer emitted the blue light. Everything returned to its original state. Faye was extremely nervous. As he looked at Kane and Akira, who were sweating buckets, he opened his mouth and asked, "What is going on? This fast? Did it fail?" The process was too quick and too simple. Faye couldn't believe it. "No, it should be successful." Kane rubbed his nose and gave a weird answer with a strange expression.